I realized most of life is very noisy. Most of leadership is noisy. And somehow, when you lead others to Christ, parang mas nakakapag-lead tayo when we are silent and just listening to others or even listening to God.
Are you ready to level up your leadership? We all need to fill our cup before we can pour out to others. Let's clear out any blocks and clogs through this series and find our leadership flow.
Welcome to our 14th episode of Victory Baliwag Leadership Flow, and our goal is to help you flow in your leadership, especially ngayong Holy Week. Siguro sobrang high time to really be equipped in sharing the gospel wherever you are, saan man kayo nagbakasyon, or wherever you're spending time with the family. And I want to share about yung ceiling ng St. Peter's Basilica, and it's a masterpiece of Baroque art painted by Gianlorenzo Bernini and his team in the 17th century. And the frescoes depict scenes from the life of St. Peter, and the rich colors and intricate details are awe-inspiring, which means pati yung mga betrayal niya kay Jesus, lahat. So, the goal of mga basilika, mga cathedral, is that your head goes up and your voice goes down. Meaning, kahit siguro kung nakapunta kayo sa mga ancient churches of old, parang pag pumasok ka, no, parang for some reason, wala naman nagsasabi sa'yo na huwag ka maingay. Pero parang your head goes up and your voice goes down and you become silent, no? I'm just reminded of, kunwari, if you're in the presence of a person of power, you'd rather be silent, di ba? Parang kung hindi niya ako tanungin, parang ayoko munang magsalita, no? Imagine kung may presidente sa harap mo or any person of power, yung authority of the person or even God for that matter demands some level of human silence. And even in Zechariah 2:13 it says there, "Be silent all flesh before the Lord, for He has roused Himself from His holy dwelling." And many of us would say, hindi ako marunong mag-share ng gospel. So, here's a good news for you. What about manahimik kayo? I remember what Henry Nouwen said, a theologian that I love, is sabi niya, without solitude, it is virtually impossible to live a spiritual life. We do not take the spiritual life seriously if we do not set aside some time to be with God and listen to Him. So, long story short, Henry Nouwen is saying, it is impossible to have a spiritual life without solitude and silence. Now, we have a noisy world, no? And dati nga, sobrang tahimik pag Holy Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Good Friday. Pero ngayon, may Netflix na. Parang, there's just no chance of silence. But, I plead with us, no, siguro 10 minutes, I don't know, of your chosen meal of the day, kunwari Thursday or Friday, parang kung ano man yung meal na feeling nyo magsasabay-sabay kayo, why not spend 10 minutes of silence? Now, kung gusto nyong panoorin, Passion of the Christ, merong mga short video clip, pagkapanood, 10 minutes of silence. And then, habang kumakain kayo, share, no? O anong impression sa'yo ni Lord, or ano yung naisip mo after 10 minutes of being silence. Maybe just once a day, no? Just moments of silence together, being silent together. And most of the time, we look down upon silence, and yet, even the Bible, even theologians believe, essential yung silence and solitude for a spiritual life. And the charismatics, even the prophetics, no? Sa Revelation 8:1, sabi doon, when the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Which, eto, napaka-prophetic na ng book. And yet, we see silence. We see na, kunwari, sa mga worship services natin, di ba? Ay, walang drums. Parang hindi magana, hindi masaya. And yet, silence is important in our spiritual life. Yes, there are moments that we need to be joyful, but silence should not be looked down upon. I realize most of life is very noisy. Most of leadership is noisy. And somehow, when you lead others to Christ, silence is service. Parang mas nakakapag-lead tayo when we are silent and just listening to others or even listening to God. Lastly, Habakkuk, few slides more. Habakkuk 2:19, woe to him who says to a wooden thing, awake to a silent stone, arise, can this teach? Behold, it is overlaid with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in it. So, the idols of this time, hindi naman sila Diyos no? So, ibig sabihin, they do not speak. And so, why do we want to be silent? And I want to say, we serve a God who wants to speak to us. And so, in the sight of an almighty God, be silent. No, merong ang term, di ba? Magnilay-nilay, di ba? And I know it's so hard, but I'm just asking, in a meal that you're about to take together as a family, why not spend, maybe watch a movie about the Holy Week, short lang, and then have a moment of silence, probably 10 minutes. And because we serve a God who wants to speak to us. God is not an idol, which means He has a mouth. He has a message to us in this Holy Week. The question is for our leaders and even for the families who's going to celebrate and be together, will we get silent enough to hear God? And so, that's my encouragement for all of us. Find the grace to be silent and share what God is speaking to us as a family in this Holy Week. And that is how we flow in our leadership. God bless you.